I think he was like number 6, number 7 in Al-Qaeda at the time, just like number 3 in Al-Qaeda, and we're all Awlaki, Fox News, Associated Press, trained secretly at the Pentagon. I mean, it's just total criminal run. You have to understand, the only reason they haven't killed me is because if they kill me, I've done so many thousands of hours and covered every subject, people will then go pay attention to everything I've done. But they still may. But it's not about Alex Jones, okay? These people are poisoning the food and water. If they were just boss hogs, I would not be this hardcore, risking my life. But they're in, these people are so evil. If folks knew this isn't a game, if you understood that the horrible, disgusting control freaks are going to take people's kids if they're 1% over too fat, they show giant 400-pound kids and say, oh, this is horrible. They're setting precedents all over the world to take your kid. CPS, if they say they're overweight, and basically people that are big boned, the metric they take your kid, they're banning food all over the place. They're going to put tracking systems on everything you buy, how much meat, how much ice cream. They're going to put taxes on that, national sales taxes, total control. We're going to take 30 minutes of calls on this subject, and then we have another whistleblower coming on. That's why I'm mentioning it. We first interviewed the other whistleblower before he went public, before all that happened, and then he did go public. This is a journalist whistleblower who got hired to run Olympic security, to be part of running a small section of it, and discovered it's all fake, and they're actually leaving it open to attack. And the intel is they are planning some type of false flag. There's a news blackout on that. That's at Infowars.com. And Fast and Furious, they're doing damage control in the Washington Post publication, foreignpolicy.com. That goes out to elitists to get their talking point straight. And the headline is the fast and the ridiculous. In Mexico, it's taken as fact that the United States is backing the drug cartels. I don't know. It's just in, 10 or so big newspapers where they go to the federal court, and there it is on record where the federal court admits, yeah, we run this drug cartel. Yeah, they shouldn't have been arrested for shipping 5 tons of cocaine in. We did give them guns. Yes, they work for us, national security. Sounded like Hal Turner, the big white supremacist. I told you for a decade he was a Fed, and it came out in federal court again in Chicago. He was a Fed. Highest level national security. But he threatened some state judges, so they still arrested him. I mean, folks, this isn't a game. It isn't a joke. We're in trouble. We're in a Mayday situation. And all of you out there that serve this system, did you get a memo not to drink out of bisphenol A? Did you get a memo not to take the vaccine? Did you get a memo not to drink fluoride? Hey, you wonder why you got somebody in your family who's got a chromosomal issue or mentally retarded or got cancer or birth defects, and why the neighbor kids got it too, and why your buddy at work's wife's dying at 37 of cancer? Because they're killing this buddy pal. That's why. There's no way out of this but beating these people. And they got a giant, overarching scientific takeover plan with brainwashed public. Men go to all these comic book movies and imagine that real men are comic book characters. A bunch of Arrested Development people. We're in a Mayday situation. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. I want to hear from doctors. All right, I have just had an hour of torture. Just focusing on how evil government-run, banker-run healthcare is. The Supreme Court says it's a tax, and it's a criminal tax directly to foreign banks. But that's not even the bad part. They're going to run healthcare and control, even if you have the money for the procedures after it's phased in, what healthcare you can get. They're moving to restrict vitamins and minerals and everything else. I can't stand the control freak class and all the different scum and criminals that work for it. Now they get up there and say this is so children get health care when they don't cover pre-existing conditions for children or anybody else for that matter. And it's just further meant to totally bankrupt us. Meanwhile, they take 76% of the money on average and put it into secret shell accounts. They aren't even really secret. It's secret because the public's ignorant. And I guess it's not a secret that a whale shark's swimming around in the Gulf of Mexico, but if you don't go and look at it, identify it, it is a secret. And it's just the people perish for lack of knowledge. And it's all right there. It's all just right there. All how the criminal network works, what they're doing, how they're operating. And once they get this plan really in place, they're going to just be killing us left and right, all the stuff they put out in the environment. And then they'll run the cure or the treatment. And they'll have the different charity events for it. And I'll have to sit there and watch the killers running charity events for what they've done. I mean, it's just, there's never an end to it. Does it ever end? Does it ever stop? Because it is just evil's victory after victory after victory, and all the stupid, well-meaning people that get conned by it, like children who've had their brains microwaved. I mean, Eric in Colorado, you've heard my rant about this. The IRS now to enforce health care and penalties and interest if you don't, and they'll have your medical records. I mean, is there no end to this?
You know, Alex, I think a lot of people had a similar reaction when Social Security got passed so many decades ago. I think you're being a little alarmist.
Oh, that is an actual talking point. Yeah, and it's bankrupted us to the foreign banks, and we've lost so many of our freedoms, and that's how they argue that the government, there's no Social Security there. If people took their Social Security money and put it in guaranteed investments of 3.5% a year, you'd get double the money most of the metrics show. Go ahead. So you support this. So you like what the insurance companies wrote?
I do. I'm not going to say that the insurance companies wrote it. Yes, they're going to make more money off of it. But the thing about it,
listen, punk.
People need to make.
Put him on hold. Put him on hold. It is a fact that the insurance companies wrote this. They had the head of the insurance company consortium, their head lobbyist, in the Wall Street Journal admitting that they wrote it. And you just say, I'm not going to say that they wrote it. The insurance companies wrote it. People like Elena. Okay, was Elena Kagan involved in the writing and putting it all together with the insurance companies? And is that a conflict of interest to then be appointed to the Supreme Court when she had a hand in putting it together?
No, I'm not sorry, but it's...
No, what you are is an idiot. What you are is an idiot. What you are is an idiot who wants to believe propaganda and just spewed out a White House talking point. Obama said that. He said a few years from now, this will just be accepted and we'll see it as good. Yeah, like 52 million abortions. Do you like abortion too? Let me guess. Do you like abortion?
I support a woman's right to choose.
Okay, I appreciate your call, pal. And that's what, okay, there you go. You think it's a right to choose, and now the eugenicists say, in top news, heads of universities kill babies up to age 3. And you'll sit there with that little fake, condescending NPR voice that where he relishes his voice and relishes saying a talking point at me. I bet that guy is a nobody. He's never run anything in his life. And, I mean, I know his MO right now, but he can copy talking points and feel smart. You're an idiot. Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks at. Okay, I'm going to go to your phone calls here in the horrible aftermath of banker care, insurance company care, known as Obamacare going in, written by the insurance companies, doesn't cover pre-existing conditions, has the IRS make you give your medical records and that you have insurance to them, and then they take money out of your bank account, no judge, no jury, with penalties and interest. And let me tell you, the way their penalties and interest work, if you didn't buy $5,000 worth of health care, by the way, the price is going up now because of this, it turns into $15,000 in a year. And they'll come take your house because they care about your children, because the government wants you to have health care because they care about the children. That's why the Associated Press admits it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. It's written by insurance companies to scam you, period. That criminal, Elena Kagan, that came out of the same cloning tank as Janet Reno and Big Sis and the rest of them, whatever her name is, Mrs. MSNBC host, Rachel Maddow. You've got same cloning tank. You've got Sotomayor, all these people. Janet Napolitano. I mean, what a joke. What a sickening joke. And again, some of these people appointed by Republicans. Alito, what do you expect? The government has the power to tax you. Really, any tax they want, power to tax, power to destroy. And it doesn't just let the IRS control your health care and take your bank account as they jack up the prices. And again, it's up 25+% just because of the law passing, just getting ready for it. They're talking about 50% in the next few years. Oh, that's really good because it's written by insurance companies, 30+ million people. They buy it now. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. He was joined by Justice Sotomayor, Breyer, Anthony, Kennedy, Samuel Alito, Scalia. Oh, I'm reading it wrong from the top to the bottom. I'm so angry I can hardly think right now. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. He was joined by Justices Sotomayor, Breyer, Ginsburg, Kagan. Those in the dissent included Justices Anthony Kennedy, Samuel Alito, Scalia, and Clarence Thomas. And that's an argument right there to vote Republican. As bad as they are, they didn't go with that. And I mistakenly said Alito voted for it earlier. I was so angry I was reading this wrong. So Chief Justice is John Roberts, wrote the majority opinion. He was joined by Sotomayor, Breyer, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Kagan. Goodness gracious. So Scalia, Alito, Kennedy, and Thomas voted against it. The problem is, if you had a mainline Republican in there who was just not as bad as Obama. Obama is so bad. I would probably, because these are such revolutionary criminals working for the bankers, that I'd probably vote for him. But, I mean, Mitt Romney supports abortion, at least he did in the past, and he helped write what became the law. And Elena Kagan helped write it. I thought that was crazy when I was reading that Alito part, but they have it written out in 2 lines that looked like it was stacked underneath each one. I was like, wow, he voted for that? And again, I'm just in an absolute rage right now. I'm totally disgusted by this. Here's Associated Press. Obamacare does not cover pre-existing condition in kids. But he's up there talking about how it's for the kids and how it's sweet and how it's compassionate. And I saw a headline earlier in the week that $17 trillion has been spent on the poor in the last 50 years and that things haven't gotten better. That's with Cook numbers. It's gotten worse. Things are worse out there. Look at it. The people have been turned into animals. In fact, guys, I can't remember if it was 15 or 17 trillion. I'm so angry I can't think straight. Will you type in 17 trillion spent on the poor with no effect, with no change? I want to get the actual headline. I'm going to go to your calls and try to settle down now. This is just absolutely disgusting to have the control freaks now in control of this. And they admit it's a tax to the foreign banks. They admit it's a tax, but not a tax to criminal government, to the insurance companies owned by the banks who CNBC says we're slaves to, that rule us. And the guests are like, of course we're slaves. Of course we are. That's just the way it is now. And I'm not supposed to get angry by that. And then I had P-Brain call in earlier. I could tell that same slithering voice about there's no problem with troops on the streets. What's the big deal? And he calls back in, even though he didn't go by his real name, P-Brain, and he says, I'm not going to agree with you. The insurance companies wrote this. Really, it's just admitted. I'm not even going to argue with you, P-Brain. And I'm like, let me guess, you like abortion? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, fine then. Okay. It's one thing if you call in disagreeing. When you call in with that self-affected, self-important NPR voice because you feel powerful because you're part of the system, because you've cozied up,